Hey, what's up, everybody? I am DJ Shockley, and I thank you guys for joining me for Falcons Film Review presented by Microsoft Surface. And I got a bunch of good plays I'm going to show you from the game this past Sunday, but it's about our wideouts. And Tampa played a lot of different zone coverages, and our Falcons receivers did a great job of deciphering where to sit in those particular zones, and it gave them an opportunity to make some big-time plays and chunk plays in this ball game. Let's talk about the first play of the ball game here with KhaDarel Hodge and his slant catch here, which is a chunk play to start the ball game. Confidence throw here. Now here's KhaDarel Hodge down at the bottom here. Now what they're gonna do is we're gonna bring KhaDarel Hodge in motion, and you're gonna stack him on top of Kyle Pitts. Now you're gonna have mirror routes on the outside. So mirror routes means you have the same thing going on both sides of the football. So at the bottom, Drake London's gonna run a slant right here. You're also gonna have a slant at the top here by KhaDarel Hodge. Now the guy that you gotta worry about here is the safety that ends up coming down. So right now you can't tell which safety is gonna come down. They're trying to disguise it, they're trying to show a different coverage, but on the snap of the football, it's going to be cover 3. This safety is gonna come down, he's gonna come down here, and he's gonna play inside. And then on the outside, this safety is going to go back to the center of the field, and you're going to work off this particular linebacker right here, depending on which way he goes. But Desmond Ridder does a good job of going away from rotation. Going away from rotation means there's less guys to that particular side, and he creates it by throwing it over here to KhaDarel Hodge. Now, you saw what Hodge is. He's going to go in motion, come across. Look at the rotation right now. At the top now, it looks like maybe some kind of cover 2. Looks like this might be the guy that's coming down. But this is what you're talking about, a pre-snap read versus a post-snap read. And at the snap of the football, now look at this safety. Now look at this safety. Here's the safety that's come down. With mirror routes, you want to make sure you go away from rotation, which is where your guy is here. Now you got him all done, and you got a slant at the top up here. And this is just something to hold this inside linebacker right here, the guy that you're trying to affect. And that's what Kyle Pitts run, a little stick right here just to control that linebacker, which creates this slant come right behind him. Now this safety here, you see him getting off the hash a little bit. He's gonna come across the middle, but here's that other safety that came down, and he's gonna take away this slant right here from Drake. So you work the opposite side, and now the other thing to notice is when Hodge gets into this little zone right here, he kind of settles in. He doesn't go screaming in there where he's gonna run into this safety. He throttles down and does a good job of understanding zone coverage. And watch him settle down in here. Now look at that. You see how he kind of settles in the zone here? Because he doesn't run too far, and guess what? If he runs too far, he runs right into this linebacker. But he settles right into this little zone that you got here. A nice little void in the area right here, and he's gonna hit him for a nice completion. Now we're off and running. That's a big time play on the first play of the ball game. Let's talk about Jonnu Smith now. On this particular play here, you're gonna have 4 verticals. And this is perfect versus cover 3 because you put a lot of pressure on the safety going to the middle of the field. Once again, it looks like 2 high safeties here. Let's draw up the route combinations on the outside. You got an outside release go route. You got a go route down the seam here by Drake as well. Jonnu's here in the slot, and he's gonna run a seam right down the middle of the field. And you got also a go route that's gonna go on the outside. And on the outside, you got CP running just a little in route here as like a little check down in case you get a different coverage. But this is the perfect coverage versus this because you're gonna get cover 3. Cover 3 means this safety is actually gonna go to the middle of the field. He's got a third of the field, and this corner here has a third of the field as well. So this is a perfect call versus cover 3 because you work the interior of this particular defense, and you gotta keep your eyes on that middle field safety. When I say keep your eyes on that middle field safety, here it is. Now here's a route combination, and this is a guy you have to affect right here in the middle because you put pressure on him by those seam routes going right down the middle of the field. So here's the play. Play gets going. There's Jonnu in the slot. Watch the rotation of the safety. You see the safety walking down? Now you know it's cover 3. So now you put the bind on this guy. Now the quarterback says, okay, I can take him wherever I want to go. Remember I talked about the seam route. This guy's doing a good job of carrying Drake down the seam. But now, here's Jonnu at the top of your screen here, and he does a good job of staying away from this particular safety right here. He stays away from him and does a good job of staying further enough away from this corner as well, who sometimes likes to fall off on these particular routes here. He does a good job of keeping it thin, and watch you let that ball go, and another great opportunity of him to stand in there and complete it. Let's watch him sit in the zone right here. I talked about it again. Sit in that zone, not running too hard into it, and watch him throttle down in his zone coverage and not run too fast. And right here, you see where he kind of turns his body a little bit because he sees this guy coming over the top. If he continues on this route here, he's going to run right into him, and it's probably going to be a pass breakup. But he does a good job of settling into this little zonage area right here that you love to see. This little area is the perfect place. And these seam routes are supposed to be called between 18 and 22 yards. Well, guess what? This was called 18 yards down the field for another big-time completion, and now another chunk play for the Falcons. Scotty Miller had an outstanding job in his particular play here. This is the deep post. Now, this is the longest play from scrimmage for the Falcons this year, a 46-yard play here. Scotty Miller does such a good job of leaning on the defensive back here. Again, you're going to get a zone coverage here. There's Scotty on the outside, and you're going to get a big post here. Now, he's going to stem him inside, but then he's going to lean on him. And you say, what does leaning on him do? Leaning on him forces that defensive back to go outside as well because he thinks something outbreaking is coming. So it creates the separation, and Scotty does a good job of leaning on him. And you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about at the top of this play here. Scotty's in the slot. You got a nice 6-7 man protection here. Now, here's the part where I'm talking about leaning on him. Look at his eyes. Look at his head. His head does such a good job of giving him the impression that he's going outside, leaning on him here because he knows he's coming back to the post this way, and an outstanding job of doing that. Now, here's the other guy you got to pay attention to, this safety. This is the guy that Desmond Ridder is looking at. Look at his eyes right here. His eyes is watching this safety because he knows that's the only guy who can take it away, because if he gets deep, guess what? If he gets deep here and takes that away, you got Kyle Pitts coming across here on a nice throw here, incomplete. So it's a nice job of seeing the eyes, seeing the coverage, but Scotty Miller leaning on him creates the separation on the outside, and boom. Now look at that separation. This DB started inside the number, 2 yards inside. Now he's on top of the numbers, and look at the separation he's created by just leaning on him, and now this football is going to be caught right 2 yards outside his hash, and a perfectly thrown football from Desmond Ridder, and boom, Scotty Miller creates the separation, ultimately ends in a big-time play and the longest of the Falcons season. Watch it from the backside here. Scotty Miller's right up here. We're going to talk about how he leans on him. You can see it from this angle where he leans on him. Look at the lean. That lean makes me think corner route, makes me think out route, makes me think something outside is coming, so that defensive back has to kind of get off a little bit. And now he creates separation to get vertical, and now you have another big-time throw over the top of that safety. Boom, nice catch and throw. Outstanding job here. Let's talk about this last play here. This is Kyle Pitts' big-time catch at the end of the ball game, and again, it's versus zone coverage. He does a good job of using his body and his head and eyes to lean on the defensive back to make him think something else, and it creates a separation from the guy that you actually want to throw the football over. Now, right now, you don't know what coverage it is. It looks like man, looks like some kind of one. What's going to happen is they're going to go to cover two. This corner is going to go back to cover two. This corner here, and this safety is going to go all the way back to cover two. You got a flat player, you got a flat player, flat, flat, and then this guy who looks like he's here, he's just going to be the underneath hook to curl area. Now, this is a perfect play versus cover two. You get the ideal job. There's Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Pitts is going to run a corner out here, boom, and you got Drake coming up here on a curl, and then you have your back out in the flat here. So you have a 3-level route. So 3-level, some high, some intermediate, and something low. Kyle Pitts does a great job of leaning on his defender, which creates the separation, which will be this defensive back in cover two. So let's let it play out. I'm gonna show you exactly what we're talking about. Look at this safety. It's going back to cover two now. So now cover two. Here's cover two. Boom. Safety here. Safety gone. You got a flat defender. Flat defender. Now here's the guy that you have to get the football over. Here's the underneath defender. Because you're running this corner route, this is the area you have to get it in between. In between this corner, in between this safety, and this is the voided area that you want to get the football into, and it's perfect versus cover two, because the perfect spots in cover two is the middle of the field here, as well as these areas on the outside where you can catch these corner routes, and you can see it from this angle here. Middle of the field, outside are perfect for cover two, and this is a perfect route for cover two. You see the levels of this? It puts a lot of pressure on a particular defensive player to make this particular play here. And look at this area. So because he leaned on him, he does such a good job of getting into that voided area. And once again, he's in that little zone I talked about, in between the corner, in between the safety, and this is an outstanding job of getting it done. And you can see it better from this back angle here. Let's watch this back angle here. Here's Kyle Pitts right here. Kyle Pitts is right here, and watch what he does at the top of this route here as he comes out of it. Leans on the defender here. Boom. You see that? Look at his head and his eyes. His head and his eyes were looking this way. And again, Dez's head and his eyes are looking at this defender because this is really the only defender that can take it away if the corner drops too deep or he gets too deep on his route. Kyle does a good job of leaning on him, and this leaning on him creates a separation away from this defensive back. Now you got a great chance of throwing this ball over the top. And look at that, right over the seam, right in between both guys here, right in between the corner, right in between the safety. Now you got everything you want here, and a very nice job here of putting it in between those three guys. Now you have a big-time play, and we know it led to the big-time game winner for the Falcons. The Falcons receivers and pass catchers did such a great job of finding those voided areas in the zones to either throttle down or sit down where Desmond Ridder could throw them a nice catchable ball, and they did a good job of using their body, leaning on guys, but also did a great job of finding where those windows were in the zones, and they exploited Tampa Bay for one of a big-time day and some big-time throws. I want to thank you guys for joining me. I am DJ Shockley. This has been Falcons Film Review presented by Microsoft Surface. See you next time.